Coming to you from sunny California and the Great White North. Get ready. We are breaking down the obstacles on the Armchair Ninja Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja Podcast. It is Thursday, October 31st, 2019. My name is Rich, and joining me for our special Halloween episode is Bijan. How are you making out?
I'm good, man, but not as good as you. You are quite peppy today, man.
I am. It is Halloween time. It is my favorite time of year.
Is this your favorite holiday?
It is. Our whole house is nuts for Halloween. We get dressed up every year. It's a big thing. I always try to win my office costume party or costume contest, and I've never been able to do it. I got in second. Drives me crazy every year. This is my year. I'm taking it home.
Well, I mean, if you guys haven't seen what Rich wore last year, you need to go to his Instagram and see it. It is amazing. So I'm curious, like, can you give a lowdown for everyone? What's the plans this year? What's your costume?
Oh, it's always a secret for the people in the office. But actually, you know what? This will be coming out on Halloween, so I guess I can say it. So I've gone with like a twisted Santa this time. So
go on.
I wanted something iconic. You need to be a recognizable character. I find that helps. So I thought Santa Claus works, especially with my build lately. Kind of plays into it. And I just went for darker colors. I've got a big fur coat, and I stitched together a hat, and did a bunch of things. So trying to get it a little darker than I have it right now. Right now it's just looking like there's just looking like Santa, but I need to make it a little more evil.
So on Halloween or so, our listeners can go to Instagram/Ninja Podcast or Twitter and find your costume, right? Like they'll be able to see you? Yeah.
Now that you've said that, I will post it to our Instagram so you can see it.
Dope. Guys, don't go to mine expecting something cool because, I'm lame. I might have like a light up mask or something, but I don't go all out like Rich does.
But that's not why everybody's here. We're not here to talk costumes. We're here to talk ninja once again.
Oh, yeah, Ninja Warrior. That's a thing.
It is. So this episode, what we're going to take a look at is some UNX Now, right? Since we had some very gracious guests, Ethan Swanson and Jeff Pajak joined us last time. I hope everyone enjoyed that.
Yeah, they were dope, man.
Yeah, super nice guys. It was nice to get in the lowdown on UNX Now. So as promised, we will take a look at that again. We've watched a few videos. We'll talk about the recent competition. And then we're going to cover briefly a show that's been recommended to us a couple of times by one of our listeners. And I always love when listeners reach out and offer suggestions.
Who is this listener? I'm going to find him.
So that was the Plump Show on both Twitter and YouTube. Asked us to cover a show called My Family's Got Guts from Nickelodeon.
Yeah. We'll get onto it, or we'll get to that later. But I mean, it's always fun in the off season to like see stuff from olden days. The origins of obstacle course shows, things like that. We'll dabble into not covering all of it because y'all do not want that. I don't want that. But we can at least like, hey, we saw this today, and we can give you kind of like, oh man, that's what it was like back in 2008. But yeah. First, let's get down to UNX Now.
Yeah, we'll do UNX Now first, and then we will cover that. So thank you, Plump Show, for recommending. I do think there's some interesting things to talk about there. So, Traverse Fitness is where the competition was held for UNX Now. And when you go into the site with your free account, which is what we're using right now, we may end up paying for a service, but for now we're using the free one. You can see some full runs, including some of our favorites. Kevin Carbone jumps right out when you go in there. So that was the first one we had to see.
Yeah, I mean, main thing for me is I want to cover more of the free stuff simply because listeners at home, you guys, if we're talking about this, you guys can get a feel for it and also be like, man, that sounds really dope. I want to see that. And you can. I don't want to be saying like, hey, go over here and pay $6 or, that's not our job. That's UNX Now's job. I want to give you or cover more of the free stuff.
Cool. So right off the bat, I was reminded how great the video is. I just can't overstate how good this video is. Like you can
production value, right?
Yeah, it's it's just like watching the show. The only thing it's missing is commentary, right? Other than that, and I kind of like the quiet. I like the real noises of the gym, the real grunts, and the real passion of the ninjas themselves as they like get frustrated when they miss something.
I mean, I understand that sentiment, but I really miss the commentary on this. I think it can go either way, but I feel like live commentary really adds another dynamic to a run that's already so good. And I think the reasoning that I feel missed it even more was because it was such high production values, so many camera cuts and so many good shots and angles and everything. It's like with this high of production, you just kind of expect a VO voiceover, going at it. And of course, hosts can either make or break it. I mean, we've seen UK Ninja Warrior where it's hot garbage.
Yeah.
So it could, be a detriment to it. But I felt like, with such high production values, I feel like having some hosts might help out a little bit. But dude, how many, like right off the bat, even before we get into like the course and everything, how many cameras do you think they had on that course? Because every single obstacle, I felt like they had a unique camera or some type of angle or something hooked up to a gizmo showing off a really cool shot for it.
I have no idea. It seems like they need a dozen for what they showed, but I mean, they've got to have some mobile ones, people running around and just capturing the right angles. But it was so steady and it was so well done that I'm not quite sure how they pulled it off.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was quite refreshing, honestly. I mean, this has got to be the closest to an A&W production that we've had. And I'm really not trying to be a shill, but like, you know what I mean? Like the camera angles were legit rather than, nothing's wrong with it being like one steady cam person going through the course. I mean, that's what most you'd expect from things, but it's such a jarring dynamic of like high production for it. And not only that, dude, like the course was actually pretty well laid out too.
Yeah, we've seen so many courses over the years that some of them are hit or miss. Some of them are overtuned where you've got like some crazy difficult obstacle in the second or third position. This wasn't that way. People were making it deep. They were getting to show their skills and really test a variety of skills, right? You get a balance obstacle leading into some big long transitions, some upper body. It really, really is a solid overall course. I don't want to go run through every single obstacle, but what stood out to you as like some of the better things we saw on that?
It was kind of like the overall course. What shocked me is everybody kept failing on this like landing pad that seemed pretty stationary to me. So I don't know what the heck was going on, but it sounds like you have a better understanding of like what you really enjoyed. Like how did you feel?
Okay. I do have a few things that I noted about that I thought really stood out. One is that they didn't seem to limit the ninjas as much as you would normally see. At least that was my feeling. Like when you watch the way they do the wing nuts, they were grabbing it from the end with two hands and doing it in weird ways that you would never see on the show. And I'm guessing a lot of it has to do with like forced rules, which, is not one of my favorite things.
Yeah, no, I think about it. That's like you love it when people do creative ways of going through obstacles, huh?
Yeah. If they can do it and it doesn't like completely break the obstacle, if you're not touching the what is it called? The stuff that holds it in place. The
gears and blah,
the gears,
blah, blah.
whatever, the stuff that holds it in place, then yeah, it's perfectly fine as far as I'm concerned. They shouldn't ever, within reason, limit people. I don't want people. I think we saw somebody skip like the rolling log one time, jumping from the top down. I don't want people doing that, right? Doing something dangerous, but
that sounds so dangerous.
It was really. It was a couple years ago we saw that happen, and it was not a great idea. But yeah, so I found there was a couple times in this one where it looked to me like they were just being creative, using their reach where they could, and just grabbing from one wing nut to the next, which I don't think I've ever seen them do on the show.
Yeah. It seemed like like that and the spinning wheels, or I think that's what they're called. The wheel obstacle.
The flywheels.
Flywheels, thank you. They seemed like they were a little bit closer together. It's either that or these ninjas have a lot longer arms than I thought. But I'm feeling on this course they were a little bit more closer together, which I'm all for.
And speaking of those, it looked to me like they were offset, like left to right.
Yes.
Which I thought made those way more interesting and probably much tougher, especially if you weren't just reaching over and grabbing. If you had to jump like on a diagonal for those, I would think that would make it a lot harder. And just in general, I thought there was a lot of creative like combinations of obstacles. Coming down from the top of the warped wall through the hole and then having to come down onto the bar of the salmon ladder before transitioning across. Right, that looked a little tricky. And then the twist and fly, I think you would call it, like that bar that hangs from a rope that can kind of get them spinning. They did that into the long rope transitions where we saw a couple people fall, not be able to make it to that platform, like you said. I think it's just the length of that rope swing, and they're pretty low to the mat at that point, right? So they can't really dangle their legs down and get a big swing. They've got to really nail it on the first time, or it's going to be hard to make that on the second swing.
Yeah. But overall, I got to say, one thing that stood out to me also was, or really I want to hear your thoughts, man, because maybe I'm just out of my mind. How'd you feel about it? There not really being like a big crowd or audience like following. It was pretty like, there were people in the background, but there wasn't like a ton, what we're, typically used to.
I was a little torn. I usually those people standing around look like they're in the way and they're like crowding the shot, and it just looks odd, right? With people just grouped everywhere around the entire course. And there's usually not a lot of commotion anyway, just like on the Ninja set, right? Most of the time people are quiet. You don't want to disrupt the person on the course. You might cheer for them when they get down onto the next part, little claps and stuff, but generally speaking, it's not nearly as loud as you hear on the TV show. So I thought it was fine. I kind of like that I could hear some individuals calling out to them and kind of encouraging them. So, I mean, there was that. I don't know. I kind of appreciate the difference, but I know what you're saying about about needing the commentary. I think if I was to sit down and watch this certainly for 2 hours, but even if I watched for half an hour, I would definitely be missing something to break it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think individually it's fine, but if you're going to run this like a show or a succession of multiple things, it's going to get, you're going to need something to liven it up, because it's just going to be monotonously the same thing over and over and over again. So, but to be fair, I mean, if I remember correctly, Ethan was saying like last week that they do have a premium version of like a rundown fast forward with people talking more about it and maybe doing some VO over it. So maybe we're just not getting that.
We're not consuming it the way it's intended, right? So I think these are more intended for people that want to watch a particular favorite ninja run. And if you were going to be following this from day to day, you would subscribe and watch the fast forwards. I think that's what they actually call them, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And it's their basic summary of what happened that day.
Yeah. So right now, I think there are like 5 different competitions that they have up. I mean, what's really going to be interesting is to see what they're going to do when it comes to the finals and things like that, because that's where the spotlight's really going to be on them and seeing what they're capable of. And I'm excited.
Yeah. Oh, and that reminds me. So the other part of that being, you're saying about commentary, that comes in the live, like the semifinals, I believe, as well as the actual finals. They have the top talent of Grant McCartney and Evan Dollard doing that. So
yeah, and that's exciting because I mean, Evan knows his stuff. Grant obviously brings a charisma and everything. I mean, he's probably more charismatic than both of us and every other podcaster combined.
It's hard to compete.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be really entertaining stuff, and I'm excited to see what they're capable of. I mean, we'll find out soon because I think that the first competition's in 2 weeks, if I remember correctly. So we'll find out soon.
Yeah. So we watched Kevin Carbone. I watched Nick Hansen as well, who went out in the same spot. Mm-hmm. Then we watched Sean Darling Hammond, who did much better than, well, I did much better. He went a little further for sure.
He made it past where the other two fell. And I gotta say, the way Kevin Carbone and Nick Hansen, they fell at they did all these hard things on this course, right? And then literally it's just a dismount from a rope swing. And I'm sure there's more to it. But from the camera angle, it just looked like a dismount from a rope swing. And that's the thing that got them. And I was just like, oh, that sucks. So I'm really glad at least Darling Hammond, we got to see a little bit more and everything. This course was very transition obstacle heavy, but it was pretty cool. But I mean, I don't think correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, there wasn't anything that was like, oh my God, that is like the first time I've ever seen that obstacle. That's crazy. It's more of a course where you know what you're getting.
I don't know. The part where Sean Darling Hammond went out was actually, that seemed pretty new, right? The way he slid up one side of it and then back down the other. I don't really know what, he never completed that obstacle. I didn't know what he had to do necessarily on that. Could you figure out what was the obstacle there? Or maybe you should explain for everyone what it is, actually. Yeah, I don't even know if I can remember exactly how it worked, but imagine like a rail system.
Line.
You slide down one side of it, and then when you hit the end, you've got to kind of use that momentum to get on the backswing to grab a rail system right next to it and slide back the other way so you can basically dismount where you started. Was the impression I got anyway.
I guess if you just got to get to the other side. I felt like he kind of did that, but I didn't really know what was going on with that.
Yeah, I think he just messed up the dismount on it because he came all the way back and he just had to jump off, but he just didn't and ended up getting stuck in the middle and hung up and timed out.
Mm-hmm.
But it was good. It was good. I really liked the course. I'd like to see more of it. Almost wishing I had shelled out for the premium yet. I still very well may. I think I'm going to wait until it's a little closer to the quarterfinals and so we can check those out.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I looked, I was curious with the results, right? Because it didn't really tell us on those, like, oh, is this how did these guys go the furthest? These are some of our top ninjas. And then I went to the results, and no, it was not them at all, actually.
Not even close, man.
Yeah. First place for the men's division was Donovan Metoyer. Second place was Dean Perez. And third place was Kyle Soderman.
Shout out. So what's interesting is, and I mean, for everybody that's been following us for a while now, typically in the regional circuit, the first and second, like top three usually, are names that aren't necessarily synonymous with ANW proper. They're people where it's like, that's an interesting name. And then we start seeing their name pop up again and again and again throughout the whole competition. And I'm curious if we're going to see their names pop up continuously or if it's just this particular region. It could be maybe they're, they know that particular gym well or a variety of things, right, Rich? But
it could be.
Yeah, what's interesting though is that this is really when we see like the next the big up and comers in A&W. If we see them killing it on the regional circuit this year, hey, when we see them in A&W, it's going to be like, oh, no, this person's actually legit. Check them out.
Yeah, and here's the thing: if you're questioning this, you're like, well, it's a regional competition, it doesn't mean much or whatever. Remember, we said Nick Hansen and Kevin Carbone and Sean Darling Hammond. Those are some big names that we've seen do very well on A&W proper. But also in this competition, we had Thomas Stillings, Kevin Bull, Seth Rogers, David Campbell. Like, this was some top-tier A&W talent that they ended up bringing home first and second place in. So, great job, Donovan, Dean, and Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
And for the women, definitely worth mentioning, in first place was Olivia Colasono, who I have not heard that name before, but I think we should remember it because second place was Barclay Stockett and third place was Jessie Graff.
Damn.
Yeah.
Was it a timing thing or did she get further in the course?
She got further than Jessie. I think it might have been timing with Barclay. I can't remember now, but I did notice it looked like Jessie hadn't gone as far.
And that's really impressive, man.
Yeah.
I can't say anything more than that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I miss covering these. We definitely need to start paying attention to UNX now and even get back into some NNL because, yeah, like it's findings like this that make me really interested in them. Because like you said, before we ever saw Barclay Stockett on ANW, we were watching for her. But yeah, I think that covers UNX for this week. If you guys would like more in-depth coverage, if you would like us to, check out some of the paid subscriptions and let you guys know how that goes. I mean, we can get the free trial for the first month if nothing else and let you know what it's all about, how the fast forward looks and things like that. I know last week it probably sounded like we were running a commercial for them. We have no vested interest in them. It's really interesting to us, and we just want to support them.
Yeah, totally. I mean, same for NNL, same for everything else. So, I mean, hey, we're here for good competitions and good vibes also.
Yeah. I mean, if they want to sponsor us, that's totally doable too. But
I mean, yeah. I mean,
as of now,
UNX now is the greatest thing that ever existed. I mean, sure.
Wow. I mean, it's just slightly better maybe than My Family's Got Guts, which is the next thing we're going to talk about.
Whew. All right, let's do this.
All right. So the original air date was 2008 on Nickelodeon. And I got to say, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I didn't expect something quite so similar to A&W, quite frankly. I'm going to make that comparison. I really am.
Shame. Oh, my God. I can't.
Okay, so let me give a high-level overview here. So we've got two teams, two families going head-to-head. 4 members for each family. Ben Lyons is the host. It's Extreme Arena, they're calling it. It's kind of very similar. It's very Nickelodeon vibe to the whole thing, of the audience and the shtick and the volume of everybody, right? It's all very Nickelodeon. You kind of expected, like, buckets of slime or something to come in at any time.
I was hoping for slime.
They're competing for a sports family vacation, which I thought was pretty cool at the end of the season. And yeah, it's a whole preliminary semifinals, and their finals is called the Agro Bowl at the end. So all this being said, this was a few minutes of intro. They did a really good job of condensing all that down to let you know what was about to happen, and then off it went. And the competitions, well, it was three phases. First one, let's just go through one at a time here. Free Run City was phase 1. It was a parkour style course, and it was run similar to like Team Ninja Warrior, one of those ones where it's like a relay. And it started with I-beams, which led to them having to vault across some wedges and run through, which was essentially a jumping spider, like as they called it, the V wall.
Okay, I need to stop you separated. Here, you are making this sound way more impressive than it is. Let me really explain. It's Rich is making this sound to be like, oh, it's A&W, it's all this parkour stuff. What you're failing to understand is that they're connected to this really high pulley, okay? Imagine like stage 4, right? Where you're on that little rig thingy and you gotta climb up and up and up, right? But if you were to say you just let go of the rope because you're completely winded, you're gonna slowly glide down, right? So on this pulley, it's not like, how do I describe this? It's almost as if they're pulling you along and you're floating. There was literally a point where the kid was jumping from one of these barricade thingies to the other, and he literally floated in the air like he was gliding because it was holding him up so high. And then this quote-unquote jumping spider, they literally jumped in the air, and it kind of like they flew towards it and then kind of landed in the middle. They didn't need to spread out their arms or anything. They just landed in the middle and started walking forward. This was hot garbage. I was like, why am I watching this? And I gotta say, like, I'm going from a biased perspective of I am an adult. I am in my 30s now. Back when I was younger, I loved all these shows in Nickelodeon, like The Pyramid and all that stuff. And I don't remember it looking like this, but maybe it was. But dude, I was like, this is, ooh, it was something. And I just gotta say, I'm so thankful for shows like ANW Junior now, where it's a show where it's actual real life athletics, not this. There was at one point kids have to like run around a cylinder type thingy and go on their side and run around a cylinder. And the host must have said 1,000,000 times, it's 0 G's. It's 0 G's. Like they're in space or something. I'm like, this is exactly the opposite of 0 G's. They are literally on their side with gravity like pulling against them downwards. The only way they can stand, like put their feet against the cylinder is because gravity is pulling them down. If it was 0 G's, they'd be floating off. Like, I was so annoyed.
That was annoying. I'll grant you that one. And I will grant you that it was not the athletic skill competition that A&W is. And yes, I was probably talking it up way too much. But the similarities in the obstacles are there, for sure. Right? We talk about I-beams. We talk about vaulting across wedges, running through this V-wall. Running around the water tower is unique. I don't know what that was all about.
Bro, if I was on these pulleys too, I'd be a millionaire right now. I'd be the next Drew Dreshel. I mean...
But that was the thing. It was a fun family show. It was I am appreciating it in the context of what it was and when it was. I think it's pretty interesting.
So the vignettes, like, I wasn't paying attention enough to have a strong opinion on it. At least, was that good or something? Like, did you feel like you got to know the families?
Okay, I'll get to the vignette in one quick second here. I just want to say about one last obstacle, which I kind of liked, was the street hop. The last obstacle, they had to bounce from block to block, and there was like a trampoline between them, like a street, like running up the middle, that they had to bounce from one side to the other. It was like box jumping from side to side.
It was complete box jumping with a spring, and that was actually very athletic.
Yeah, I like that one. And they didn't even have the pulley system pulling them along.
No pulleys or anything. That was just straight up legit athletics. And that was the one thing that stood out to me also. Thank you for bringing that up. That actually was the really impressive part. I was like, all of these kids and all these family members, they aren't doing anything. They're literally just doing whatever, being glided along. But whoever's on that box jump, that person's earning it.
Cool. But yeah, so after that stage, they do a timed run, and then the next family does a timed run, and then they earn points. And then it cuts to a segment, and again, very reminiscent of A&W. They showcased the family, talked about the athletic achievements of the different members of the family. They even talked about their uncle who died, who was inspiring their run, and they were doing it for him. It was really like this weirdly condensed, bizarro version of A&W at times.
Rich, have you ever seen MXC?
Yeah, I get it. It's like obstacle course shows that have a bit of a pattern.
No, I'm just saying because I feel like your bar is pretty low, and I'm like, yo, there's some really good shows out there that we can cover that's like way better than this, like MXC, even Wipeout.
I will tell you right now, I loved Wipeout before I watched A&W. A&W made Wipeout unwatchable for me because then I realized what a gag that whole show was.
Yeah, but I'll be real with you. Wipeout wasn't bad at all. Like it's not A&W, but like for the entertainment perspective of it, it was good, and it's way better than this show. So yeah, MXC, Wipeout, stuff like that. I mean, there's some goofy obstacle course shows that are like really entertaining and really low key, man. I feel like Titan Games and some of these shows that are trying to be just the next A&W, they can take a page from that.
They can. And we're covering this mainly to show our love for one of our listeners, for the Plump Show. I felt like I owed it. He's asked multiple times, and I just wanted to check something different out.
Plump, you probably hate me. Sorry, buddy. But yeah, not my jam.
So we'll speed through the next two. There was two more stages. One was the flying football. They had like a what are they called? Crossbars, goalposts in the middle of the arena. They were on bungees and they were jumping up and down and throwing footballs through.
They were throwing. If you guys saw this, you'd just be like, this is an obstacle. They're throwing footballs over, what is that, field goal thing? That's all they're doing.
Yeah, I don't know. But the mom was really struggling in the green team. It's kind of entertaining to watch her just like spinning in circles and not being able to bounce up and stuff. So, but from like more of a wipeout perspective, I guess, than any comparison to ANW.
I would pay for those giant balls to be like knocking these people around.
Or sarcastic comments from the commentators with the marker on the screen. Yeah.
Oh God, I live for those guys. Damn, now I'm missing Wipeout. What the heck is wrong with me, man?
And then at the end, they had the aggro crag. 2 players from each team had to climb up this big mountain. The first one goes up a certain portion and then triggers the other one to go. They have to do a 22-foot climbing wall, like the world's simplest climbing wall. And it was a different show.
It was a show. It was a show that is no longer on television. I can tell you that.
That's true, but it is on YouTube.
Go check out MXC, people. That's some good stuff.
It is linked in our comments. You can search for it as well. It's pretty easy to find, and you can check it out for yourself. Let us know what you think. If you like it, then let us know. Let us know if Bijan's just being a hater for no reason.
It wouldn't be the first time.
All right, so that is it for our coverage this week. Bijan, we have been slacking on the 5-star reviews of the week. Do we have any lately?
Let's see. Oh my God, we do, Rich! It's happening! We have a 5-star review from Family Tech Talk. They say, love it! This podcast helps keep the time between A&W episodes not feel so long. Love listening every week. And guess what, Family Tech Talk? We love you as well! You are amazing! We love you! You bring us joy! You are the best! Oh, my singing voice brings you life, doesn't it? Oh, it's just wonderful. Family Tech Talk, you are the 5-star review of the week. Thank you!
Yes, Family Tech Talk, thank you for making Bijan sing on here. It was a warm treat, warmed my heart.
Rich was not prepared.
I don't even know how to respond to that one. But if you would like to have your review read on the podcast, please make sure you stop by iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, leave us your comments. We appreciate them all. Thank you very much. We have been a little slow to get to some of them, but we are going to plow through them now. We will get through, make sure we read out every last one that comes in. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you'd like to reach out to us, you can reach me as rich@ninjapodcast.com. I am at Ninja Podcast on both Instagram and Twitter. And Bijan, how can they reach you?
Yo, hit me up at Instagram and Twitter at Bijan151. That is Bijan 151.
All right, thank you all for listening, and have a happy Halloween.
Peace, love, and trick or treat, y'all!